Hello everyone, welcome back. Now this is my millionth tier list. Not millionth, but my tier list on the worst PlayStation 1 games of all time. This is a tie-in to my live stream. If you haven't seen that, go check the live section of my channel, where I played the worst PlayStation 1 games of all time. Obviously, I am doing a series of worst video games of all time based on each console, and then I'll go back and just figure out what the worst of games of all time are based on, all the worst game sections. So I picked these games not based on my opinion, because obviously I haven't played most of these games except this one I have played before on the N64, just based on lists online, what people have said, you know, what the mythos around these games are. Because like games like Bubsy 3D, everyone knows this game's bad, so of course I had put it on the list. But somebody didn't know about. Like I didn't know people hated these pinball PS1 games, so that's why they're here. Obviously you got every PS1 game here, but that's not important. So we got our tiers as per usual, same as always. And so actually good if I think it's actually shouldn't be on this list at all and seems to be okay. Those are the only ones that are technically positive, which I rarely use, but sometimes I do if I think the lists were completely wrong and I don't know what people were talking about. Anyway, let's start with the one game I have played before, and it's the South Park game. Now, this is really cool to play because it's like based on like the early seasons, and it's kind of crazy they had a game so early. And yeah, the theming is kind of cool with like the shitty FMV in the beginning, and you could walk around South Park, but the game's very half baked. Um, the map doesn't have as many Easter eggs that you'd want. There's also like really bad render distance. Graphics aren't very appealing. The gameplay is also very bland. You're just throwing snowballs at turkeys, and that's not as fun as it even sounds because all that you do is just hit the button and hit them, and that's not that hard. Yeah, there's other weapons and stuff, but you don't really use them that much, and there's not much skill or anything to it, so you're mostly just running around. The only thing that's legitimately like terrible about this game, I feel, is playing it on like an N64 controller feels pretty bad, but on the PS1 or keyboard like I played, it wasn't that bad. But the actual really bad thing about this game is the turkey's sound effect is so annoying. I know Matt and Trey Parker, Master and Trey Parker hate this game, but I think that's because they had higher standards and they eventually did make a way better game years later. But I think they're a little harsh in this game. I think it's just like I want to put it in seems to be okay, but let's be honest, the game is pretty mediocre. The only reason I'd put it there is because I like South Park, but let's be honest, this game's nothing special, and it's not even that interesting to go to. The multiplayer mode is also pretty shit, but like it's at least funny just to throw snowballs at each other. Next up, I guess we'll do. Let's just get Bubsy 3D out the way, guys. We already know what tier it's going into. Actually, good. Bubsy 3D is a masterpiece of shit. It's worst games ever. Bubsy 3D is the worst platformer I've probably ever played. The camera is horrible. It goes above when you're trying to jump, which is bad. Every time you get hit, it shows your stupid face. Bubsy's voice is annoying. The graphics are literal garbage because there's like no textures, just boring ass plain walls, empty environments. Your jump feels like shit. Your glide is even worse. You run too fast and you accelerate too slow and stop too slow. You turn too slow. Like everything they could have fucked up, they did. Like this game is a shit show. I know many people talked about it more to me. It's bad. And also, in my stream, I know I didn't play these games too long, but I did go back to get a second opinion for some things I wanted to do. But like, none of these games changed that much for me. But yeah, Bubsy, you're staying down here. Kiss Pinball is one I want to go to. It's the first one I played. Apparently, there's a couple of these PS1 pinball games, and this is the one I kept seeing, so I don't know if they're all that bad. I know there's this Austin Powers one apparently that sucked. But this one, I'm like, it's just pinball. How bad could it be? Oh, it was bad. So I know these games weren't full price, so I guess that wasn't like a huge deal if you wasted your money on this shit, but they still sucked ass. Because how do you fuck up pinball? And they did it. The ball moves at like supersonic speeds, which makes no sense. So it's hard to like aim or do anything with accuracy. So you're mostly just hoping something interesting happens, and not really. I mean, the theming's okay, but there's really not much to it. It's just a really bland pinball game that moves way too fast and doesn't do anything interesting. So it's just like, that's it. And the background tracks are just like instrumentals. It's not even like, a full Kiss song. Like you guys couldn't get the rights for that or something. So I would put it in bad, but like there's so little to this game. I think it's just dog shit. Like, what's the point of playing this? You'd rather just play a real pinball machine. Like, oh, you have to buy one that are thousands or whatever. Just go to like an arcade or something. I guarantee you can play a pinball machine for like a quarter. It's way worth your more worth your money. Next up, let's do Star Wars. Now this one, I am a little confused. This was a fighting game, and I'm not gonna lie, I think it's going in the actually good tier. I don't know what I'm not understanding, but I really didn't see anything that was egregiously bad. Yeah, some of the pictures of the characters in the select screen are like really shoddy looking, but the graphics are pretty solid. You've got functional controls, combos work well. I mean, I know it took me some time to get used to it, but like that's just me never playing the game before. The theming's cool. Like it's just a solid fighting game. I mean, I think it's pretty fun for the PS1. I mean, it's not amazing, don't get me wrong, but like compared to like I don't know, like Clay Fighters or like 3D Balls or whatever that I played recently, this is way better than those. So tell me what the hate is about this because I don't really know why it was so hated. Next up, let's do Hooters Road Trip. This game was so boring. Like I thought it would be so much more interesting. Like, oh, Hooters Road Trip, what the hell is this? Turns out it's a extremely generic driving game that nobody would remember if it wasn't for the Hooters marketing, which I mean this game's not even that much talked about to begin with. And the Hooters stuff is just like the menu, the loading screens, and when you beat a level, it's like here's a clip of a Hooters girl at a shitty FMV saying "Welcome to this place." Like, wow, I drove there for that. Other than that, the game's basically just like you drive a boring, easy ass road, and that's it. It's honestly super boring. It controls fine. There's nothing broken or wrong about it. It's just so boring. So I can't technically put it as dog shit 'cause it functions better than the Kiss Pinball, but it's just as boring and bland. So that's the main difference between these two, I guess. No interest in playing this again, which is why I didn't go back to it. Next up, we've got might as well do Mortal Kombat. I'm looking at it. This was a beat 'em up game, um, kind of like the Sub-Zero Mythologies game they tried earlier. Actually, I'm pretty sure this one came out after that one. That game I hated. This game not that bad. I'm not gonna lie. Graphics are fine. Combat it's a little boring, but like you can unlock more combos and guns and stuff that make it actually interesting, and it works fine and it does what it needs to. I like the level design that it's like kind of like an open level where you go around doing stuff. It's a little hard to figure out where I'm supposed to go, what I'm doing, but I honestly do not mind it that much. Would I put it in like an actually good tier? Probably not, but I really don't mind it. I kind of wanted to go back to it a little bit because I thought there was like more to it. I'm like, yeah, I don't think it's that bad. Like, don't get me wrong, like this is not a game you'd necessarily want to spend your time on, but like, I don't think it deserves too much hate. A game that does deserve a little bit more hate though is probably Simpsons Wrestling, another big franchise. This game is pretty fucking bad. Like the graphics aren't even that good for the generation. Like you have like these horrible 2D audience sprites that look like crap. The controls are really weird. It's like sometimes the buttons just do different things, I feel like. And there's like these weird button prompts at the bottom that I don't understand till this day. Um, it is kind of funny with the theming, but like that gets old pretty quick, and you realize you're just playing a really bad fighting game. That I always hate fighting games where you're like in a big area where you might as well just walk around or just mash a button. It's just I don't know how to describe it. It's just a really stupid game where you might as well just bounce on their heads to do more damage or just mash the punch button. It is so uninteresting and bad, and it just looks like shit, plays like shit. This is going clearly in the bad tier, but at least has more interesting mechanics than Hooters, even though it technically plays worse, I guess, but like there's more to it, so I'd rather play it again. So still bad, not as bad as Hooters probably. Next up, Fifth Element, a really random movie tie-in game that was, whew, it was really bad. Like, I was a little maybe too harsh on it in my live stream because I kind of don't understand some things, but it's still really bad. Um, you're just Bruce Willis jumping around like you're on the fucking moon with these really bad controls. Like, I don't know what they were going for. Like, I kind of wish I could get to like the level with the girl, but like I don't think it's any much different or better. This game was just so bad. I just it's hard to describe this game. All I could say is go play it. Like the shooting was super clunky, but the platforming is just where it was like, what the fuck were they thinking? And why is this game need a or why does this movie need a game to begin with? This game clearly goes in the dog shit tier. I almost thought it was worst games ever, but like once I gave it like a second chance, and well, not second chance. Once I thought it over more, like you know what, maybe it's not quite as bad because at least they put some effort into it. I know I'm not describing the game that much, but it's really hard to describe how bad this game was. Just go watch it. My live stream or someone else play it. Let's see. Next up, let's get it out the way right now, guys. Crow is a great pile of dog shit. Yes, it is the worst PlayStation game. Yes, I think it's worse than PUBG 3D. This game was kind of similar to the Mortal Kombat game, where it's like a beat 'em up where you go around fighting people in the area, but in every possible way, they made it terrible. First, the backgrounds are like 2D rendered with like fixed camera angles, kind of like a Resident Evil thing, which I love Resident Evil games, and I hate it here because it does all it does is make the game worse because in Resident Evil it's like done for the horror aspect, but here it's not a horror game, so all it is just annoying. It's like you're super small on screen, you're trying to fight people, then it gets like keep changing the camera angle, or it's like really weird, so you don't know where you're supposed to go, even though it's not that type of game. So it's just really stupid. The punching and attacks is just absolute mashing garbage. You like miss every enemy you try to attack. Picking up the weapons is a nightmare, and they don't really feel like they do anything. And every time you pick them up, you throw them. The music is just one boring guitar riff looped. Like everything they could have done wrong, they did. And I think it might have to be below Bubsy because this game is a mess. It is so bad, but that's the Crow for you. Sorry, Brandon Lee. Your legacy is tarnished by this piece of crap. I don't know why I mentioned that, but I just felt like it. And the last up, the weirdest shovelware game I've ever seen, Mary Kate and Ashley Magical Mystery Mall. Now the story was honestly fucking hilarious, and I thought, oh, this could be really, really bad, but it's not that bad. It's not good either. It's mostly just a kind of like a mini game that you would give to like a little girl, I guess, or maybe a guy if they were really into Full House, maybe. Some of the mini games were pretty rough. Some of them weren't that bad. Overall, like I was more impressed by like they actually put some effort into this. I thought it was gonna be like absolute junk, but it was playable. So I think it's got to go in mediocre. Um, like I wish there was more to a lot of the mini games. Like the fashion show was like there was barely any options. The snowboarding, like you just kept playing the same course over and over, which was really lame. I did play some of the other ones. They're not much to say. They're uninteresting. I would probably say it's better than the South Park game that I think about it, but like I enjoyed the South Park game more. I surprised theming, but it's just as bad. You could put these two either way. They're both just mid games that you really don't want to play, but they're not anything bad. But yeah, that should be it. I'm just double checking my list. I think it looks good to me. So yeah, this is what I think of PlayStation One's worst games. If you think I'm wrong, that's okay. It's my opinion, and that's your opinion. You can have that. Just feel free to let me know in the comments if you like this video, like it. If you're not subscribed, please feel free to do so. I appreciate it. And if you want to hop into my other streams, I try to stream kind of regularly. Next up, I might be doing a 6th generation console, or I could do some PC games like Big Rigs I gotta get to. But yeah, thanks for watching and have a good day.